Hey everyone, Once Bitten here. So it's game 2 of the preparatory tournament for Brawler Bash 2013. Of course, it's a 3,000 point game, just like the last game. The scenario in this one is Blood and Glory, but the game doesn't end if you break Fortitude. The first player to break Fortitude gets 700 victory points. The second player to do it gets 350. In this tournament, there's also extra objectives you can get, and it kind of changes every game. And you can get 250 to 500 extra victory points that way as well. So my Empire versus a Skaven army. Starting on the left, he's got a Doom Wheel, some Rat Ogres behind him, and a Warpfire Cannon behind that. He's got some Skaven Slaves, some more Skaven Slaves, some Plague Monks with the Plague Priest with the Plague Furnace, which kind of scares me. Let's see, he's got some Clan Rats with a weapons team next to him, and with them he has a Warlock Engineer just so he can carry the Doom Rocket, and he's got his General, Grey Seer level 3. Next to them he's got some Storm Vermin, Horde formation. He's got a Chieftain BSB in there. The Skaven Brew allows you to roll for a benefit. He rolled for Frenzy, so there's Frenzied. He's got a Warlock Engineer carrying the Brass Orb. Hidden with them is an Assassin. Behind him are some more Skaven Slaves. There's another weapons team, another Warpfire Cannon, and then a Hell Pit Abomination. I haven't played Skaven in a while, and I've never played with my Empire list, so I'm really kind of curious to see how this pans out. I forgot to take a picture after deployment, and I got to go first, so this is a picture after Empire movement on turn 1. But I've got my artillery here in the lower right-hand corner, 2 cannons and a Hell Blaster, and between them is a Master Engineer. I've got my Captain on Pegasus, the 3 Demigryph Knights with Banner of Eternal Flame, and obviously I'm targeting them towards the Hell Pit Abomination. I think that's rough. I'm hoping I can take some wounds off the Hell Pit first, and then with their flaming attacks and just all the attacks they have, I hope that's a good matchup, because otherwise I don't know how to deal with that Hell Pit. Anyway, I've got my Stank. I've got a Horde of 36 great weapons, great swords, detachment in front of them. In with them is the Arch Lector, and they've got the Standard Discipline. I've got the Celestial Hurricanum next to them. Next to that is a horde of 45 halberdiers, and in with them is my battle standard bearer. And they have one detachment in front to the left and another detachment here to the right behind the great swords. And I've moved my level 4 wizard in with them. My understanding is that I cannot deploy him in a detachment, and I don't know where that comes from, but I'm assuming it's true, and so I don't deploy him with them, but I move him into them on turn 1. So, Handgunners in the woods, and then my Inner Circle Knights with the Steel Standard with the Warrior Priest on the far left. So, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do here. I think if I can get the charge with my Knights into his Doom Wheel, that will go very well. And I should be able to get the charge, because that Steel Standard really makes them mobile. My plan is to shoot shoot his stuff up and hope that's enough when I get in combat. So I go to turn 1, and I get rid of one Warpfire Cannon, which I was very excited about that. My Hell Blaster opens up on his Hell Pit Abomination, and we can do that for turn 1 because it's Blood and Glory. We're not 24 inches apart. And I think I do a couple wounds to it, so that was nice. And yeah, otherwise I think that the cannon just went off. So Skaven turn 1. Look at that Hell Pit Abomination. That thing zoomed. I think he rolled a 17 or something, and he'd already picked the direction. So I mean, oh my God, I'm really glad he didn't target that Captain on Pegasus before he rolled. But I didn't think he didn't think he was going to roll that high. So otherwise, he moves up, as you can see. His units in the middle are actually farther up than it looks, because that piece of terrain won't allow us to put his movement trays on it without them falling over. So if you look at the red die, that is where his Storm Vernon's front corner is. So they're actually up probably 5 inches closer than it looks like. And if you look on the left of the black die, that's where his Plague Monks are up. And it really kind of messes with you, because you're trying to get a feel for angles and who can charge whom and stuff like that. And I had to keep reminding myself that what I saw was not, in fact, what it was going to be. But anyway, it's that. There on the left, his Doom Wheel zoomed up there too, which was just awful, because now it can easily shoot my Knights. All I can really hope there is that it doesn't do too much damage, but I should be able to get a nice charge off on them. So we go to the magic phase. I don't remember the spell he cast, but his Gracier cast a spell that forced every model in this unit to take some kind of test. I think it was an initiative test or whatever it was, and it wiped out a third of the unit, and it knocked his Gracier from a level 4 to a level 1. Although when I'm looking at his list, I don't see it listed as level 4, but I don't know how the Skaven works that way. So anyway, they're still manageable, but I need those great swords to be big so they can do some things. Here on the left, I think this is a warp fire that lands on these guys, and whatever it was, it does a bunch of strength 2 no armor save hits to them. And I was thinking, well, that's not ideal, but at least strength 2 he needs 5s to wounds. And if you look at the dice, he rolled six hits, and then he rolled 4 or 5 of the 6, 5 or up. Knocked out half that unit. And then during the shooting phase, his I believe warp fire, something I don't know, lands on these guys and knocks them by about a third. So I've got 3 combat blocks, and all of them have been absolutely decimated. That is not good. Empire turn 2 overall looks like that. A lot of weird things going on here, but again, I was looking at where can I charge and actually win combat and break them and overrun and not get countercharged, and there didn't have a whole lot of options. So the good news is I charged my Captain on Pegasus out at his weapons team, which cleared the way for my Demigryph Knights to hit his Hell Pit in the flank. So it's as good as I can hope for. I'm hoping they can take him out. The Captain on Pegasus is, as you can see him, there's the weapons team, and my steam tank went into the flank of a Storm Vermin, and I really needed that. Those are semi-elite. They're frenzied. A couple characters in there. I don't think I could really handle them with my great swords. And so now my steam tank is holding them up, and it's kind of holding up the Skaven slaves just north of the Pegasus here as well. So really like how that worked out. And again, when I was declaring charges, I didn't know that the steam tank was going to be able to make that charge, so that's why I wasn't more aggressive charging his general's unit there in the middle, the clan rats on that terrain. This terrain is just difficult to ground, by the way. So I reform my great swords and angle them because I want options for who I charge. I don't want to put the great swords into the Storm Vermin unless they're greatly weakened. Anyway, so I put them there. The Celestial Hurricanum charges other weapons team, and I really kind of wanted to charge his clan rats, but he could do a stand and shoot with the weapons team. So I charged the Hurricanum in first, and he decided not to stand and shoot. And then I didn't charge his clan rats because now I didn't have to suffer the stand and shoot. Anyway, here's on the left. The detachment is blocking his plague monks from charging, because remember the plague monks are actually up where that black die is. And you can see I moved my inner circle knights up. After combat, I took 5 wounds on my Demigryph Knights, so I've got one guy there on full health and one guy with only 1 wound left. The Hell Pit took a bunch of wounds. I won combat, but he was stubborn and he stuck. Like the camera's angled here. Steam Tank does what it does. It charged into just a ton of wounds, but his Storm Vermin stuck. They were steadfast, of course. And another side view, this is the Celestial Hurricanum. Killed the weapons team. I did not overrun because I did not want to get in combat with the Plague Monks. I just stopped, and I figure if they charge him, I'll just flee. So I go to Skaven turn 2. He charges the Celestial Hurricanum, and I flee. On the left, his Rat Ogres charged the detachment, and I fled. And then his Storm Vermin, I believe, or his Plague Monks redirected into the same detachment, and I fled again. Because I need those Rat Ogres just to stay the heck away from everything else. I'm struggling to deal with his big blocks with what I've got left, and I don't need them anywhere near this. So overall, it looks like that. Let's see. My Pegasus beat the weapons team on my turn. His Skaven slaves charged it, and I fled. Ran right through the steam tank. He decided not to overrun into the steam tank because he knew it would just hold them up forever. So he's there. Left side of the board, you look on the very top. My inner circle knights now at half strength. are marching around his units, trying to get a potential charge off on his warp fire. So on this turn, his Skaven slaves turned like you see there. During shooting, something happened, killed 3 of the 5 remaining models. I failed my panic test, ran away from the nearest unit, which was the Doom Wheel, and it looks like that. So something happened on his turn when he shot me. It looked like he was set up for me to charge him, and then somehow he got out of my way. I just don't remember how that happened. I'm not used to playing Skaven. His warpfire opens up, misfires, lands on the Skaven slaves, and destroys them, which is kind of funny. He whittles my halberdiers down even more. And his Hell Pit kills a Demigryph Knight and puts a wound on my last one. I still did more wounds. I won combat and broke him, and I decided to pursue just in case he didn't go off the board. So this Demigryph Knight is actually off the board, and the Hell Pit Abomination is off the table. Very, very happy to see that. And after combat, it's, I think he's done a wound to my steam tank, but we're just sticking there. Go to Empire turn 3. I rally the Hurricanum. I rally the Captain on Pegasus. Really some interesting things going on in the middle. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But basically, I charged my detachment at his clan rats so that my halberdiers could then charge the clan rats, or I could charge the flank of the storm vermin. So he knew that was what's going to happen. So when I declared my detachment charge, he fled. And the detachment, didn't need too awful much to catch him. I think I needed like a 7. And so I didn't charge the halberdiers because I couldn't risk a failed charge. So anyway, it ended up being a failed charge, and then I just marched the halberdiers up as close as I could to the detachment so that they were not going to be flank charged by those plague monks. So that's what's going on over there. There we go. That detachment could have been heroes. Could have been. Yeah, over here just more pictures. You can see I generated a bunch of steam points with my steam tank and did a bunch of wounds on his storm vermin. So they're actually now getting down to a manageable size. Skaven turn 3. Oh, if you look on the left, by the way, the big blue star and those plague monks, during my shooting phase, I was finally able to pick off that plague furnace. I'd been shooting at it and just overshooting and undershooting and failing to wound. It was just awful. So finally got that thing out of the way. On his turn, he rallied his general's unit. His Radogers charged my handgunners. Yeah, otherwise the board just looks like you can see. Not a good day to be a handgunner. Overall, looks like that. Yeah, he goes ahead and shoots at my Inner Circle Knights. It's kind of a moot point. I was rallying on Snake Eyes anyway, but anyway, they are like that. And after combat, the handgunners are dead, and panics the detachment, and they flee, which doesn't matter. And those rat ogres are frenzied, so I sacrificed my handgunners just so it would take them out of the combat. Now, this is a large game with very little time, so we both know at this point we're probably going to get to 5 turns only. So that's how I know the rat ogres are just not going to affect anything else. Anyway, Empire turn 4, it looks like that. I charged my great swords, my Hurricanum, into the flank of the Storm Vermin, along with my Captain on Pegasus. And the only bad news was that he popped his assassin out and killed my general. And so that was unfortunate, but otherwise we beat up on them and ran them down, which is very nice. The Halberdiers with the Battle Standard Bearer, I think I charged them into the flank as well. I just wanted to make sure I got the Storm Vermin out of there. So if you look on the right, my lone remaining Demigryph Knight charged the flank of the Clan Rats, or the Skaven slaves, I mean. I think they're going to have a hard time wounding that Demigryph Knight, and he can do enough wounds that I think he'll hold them up and may even eventually break their steadfast now that there's no leadership or reroll nearby. So Skaven turn 4. He had Skaven slaves on the far left that charged my BSB's unit, would have hit him in the flank, and I couldn't take the chance of that, so I just fled. When I fled through my Captain on Pegasus, who failed his panic test and fled away from the nearest enemy unit, which was those slaves in the upper right, so it was kind of awkward. Yeah, over here he's picking on my detachment. Warpfire opens up, blasts the Hurricanum. Gets that off the table. And my Demigryph Knight is in combat with the Skaven slaves. I think I just really whipped my attacks this time, and we actually tied combat, and he was able to reform. So I was really bummed about this, because when its turn started, I was wanting to charge his general's unit with my halberdiers and the hurricane and other things, and now it's going to take some more time. So Empire turn 5, my BSB's unit fails to rally. They keep on running. I go ahead and take my great swords into his clan rats. I rally my captain on Pegasus. I take my level 4 out of the detachment so that if his plague monks charge my captain on Pegasus, I can just flee, and then if he redirects, I could just do a bunch of fleeing over there. Not very happy with the BSB at the moment. Happy enough with this. And the bad news is I wasn't able to catch him, and he didn't run off the table. The good news is now I've broken his fortitude. At a 3,000 point game, he's down to 3 because he has his general and his plague monk banner, and that's all he has. So that gives me 700 extra victory points. So I was very happy with that. Go to Skaven's turn 5. He does some charging. I do some fleeing, and overall it looks like that. I think he charged my captain on Pegasus. I fled. He redirected my detachments. I fled. They're all the way on the right of this picture. And then, of course, he just had a failed charge. So, and if you look at the very top, my Demigryph Knight is all alone. The Skaven slaves broke and exploded and failed to wound him anymore, so he was able to get rid of them. Rallied his general's unit. That was a real bummer. I was really hoping to get those points. And at that, because we ran out of time, that was the game. So kind of a fun, wacky game. And I think that's the kind of game that Skaven brings, and I enjoyed it. I would have enjoyed it more if we had more time, because it got to a point where it was so rushed. I was ahead by 400 or 500 points in terms of points killed. I got the 700 points for breaking fortitude. He didn't get any for that. And then with the extra one, I got a bunch of extra victory points because of other objectives. So I'm not really keeping close track in terms of how I'm doing for the tournament, because I'm getting wins and I'm getting between 1,500 and 2,500 points for it, but I see other people winning and getting 4,500 points in these absolute massacres. So I don't think I'm anywhere near the top, but I am 2-0. So anyway, that's it for Game 2. We'll see you in Game 3 in just a couple days probably.